Okay, so this has been a spiritual journey, you know? It was from the get-go. I set out with a certain set of goals that kind of developed and evolved over the course of the majority of the journey. And then I started to experience other feelings. Like, it all started with realizing that I kind of had, it's good to put your nose to the grindstone, you know, but I realized that I kind of had my head down so much that I wasn't just taking the time to enjoy the journey itself. Which is largely what it's apart. I had been very proud of myself to be processing the journey with the sense of positivity that I had. So I was actively in an enjoyment process, but I'd kind of taken advantage of that or let it become such a habit that I wasn't actively existing. It's not that I wasn't, I was, but so I posted that video about, when I was walking and hadn't eaten and the women at Subway gave me a sandwich and I broke down about it. And that in of itself really started to change my feelings about things. Mostly not even about the experience itself, but about how I was responding to it. Because I realized that it was overwhelming and heartbreaking almost to receive that type of grace and graciousness and generosity. And I don't like that feeling necessarily either. I don't think that's me standing in my power, and if this entire process is supposed to be about self-actualization, then it's great for me to be able to experience those things, but it's best that I work through them and, I don't just let things kind of be taken for granted, you know what I mean? I take those things and make the most of them, or I'm able to just actively appreciate them without having to do shit with them, But I wasn't in an active state of appreciation. I was, but at the same time, being heartbroken about it, I felt guilty, I felt guilty. And it's weird because I've gone through this process where I've been reminded that all the good I've put into the world is being returned to me. It's just up for me to be willing to receive that. So much of active karma is also about how we receive it. You can get bad karma for having done something negative, essentially, or positive for yourself, but not for anybody else, whatever sort of deal, however you want to look at it. But you can get negative karma and respond to it positively and then gain even often a higher form of dharma, of good karma, by being willing to appreciate the karma that you get for the things that you've done. And I was trying to embrace that and falling into that concept with falling into it, I say, because I wasn't trying to force it. And I wasn't trying to, I was trying to go with the flow about it. Even though it felt terrifying sort of deal, just for all these different pride and ego reasons. And I've been confronted consistently now with my ego in so many different ways. And, the thing about humility is I used to have this front that many considered to be humble. It portrayed itself as what I assume, I guess we tend to define humility as, but it wasn't humility, it was pride. And so I guess it's weird to think about how many people receive my pride as humility when I portray it a certain way, when I'm coming more and more to the understanding that my active humility isn't isn't me acting it out. It's more of an active receiving on my end. And like when I'm not, like focused on myself in different ways, and when I can, like, what the real humility is like my capacity to be able to receive from my experience in just like an unbiased way, and I've come around to this in so many different ways now. That's really like, it's just interesting because a lot of these have been like really long practiced or deeply seated habits of defining things inaccurately, just not being self-aware, being willing to or being people pleasing, or being willing to fall into, I don't know, it's a weird one because like, yeah, I guess like, man, there's always, it's just, I'm in this weird process now because okay, so I walked from Racine to Kenosha, and then I walked around Kenosha, and then I took the train from Kenosha to Chicago, and then I walked around Chicago, and then I took the train from Chicago to St. Louis, and then I walked around St. Louis, and then I walked all the way down towards pretty much the bottom, like, west side of Missouri, and then, after that video that I made about the sandwich at Subway, I had gone however many miles more up the way, and stopped at a gas station to fill my water bottle because I was out of water for a couple miles. It was fucking hot, and thought it was gonna rain for a minute, so I like put my bottle out and went and sat under some of this old fucking farm equipment that was like just sitting out in the field. But then it didn't rain. It like almost started to, and it was like super dark and really stormy looking, and then it just like didn't rain. So I was like, okay. So then I had to walk a couple more miles before I could get somewhere where they had some water, and thankfully it was only a couple miles. And then when I got up there was this old dude who was just chatting with the lady that worked there, and he offered to take me south if that was the way it appeared that was the way I was headed, and if that was true, then he was willing to take me, as far south as he went. And I was like, all right, yeah, that'd be great. I don't know, he just seemed nice. He seemed fine. I just trust. There's been plenty of people that have offered me many things, and I've received some things and I've not received other things, and I've received some things and then later not received things, and vice versa. So like, just always trying to practice trusting myself about things in that way. And he ended up, so he took me down to this truck stop, but then he called me after he had dropped me off. He called me later. I gave him my number to keep in contact with him, and he called me later and was like, he's like, I'm going to be moving out of my grandson's place, which is where I'm staying right now, and I'm staying there right now, but I have an apartment that just doesn't have anything in it. So it doesn't have anything in it, and that's why I'm not staying there. But if you wanted to stay there, at least you have a roof over your head and a shower. You can use the shower there. There's nothing else there. And I was like, yeah, he pretty much insisted upon it, but at the same time, like, it's like, is that okay? And I was like, yeah, that'd be really nice. And I was because like I had been talking to him when he was driving me, and like he was telling me he's a dude in his like mid 60s, late 60s, and he has his knees all fucked up. He has water on the knees, so like he has a hard time getting around, but so he can't work at his normal job. But in order to continue making money, he's just mowing lawns. And I was like, well, I've done that, and I do that. Like, I've done that for a living, so maybe I can help you for helping me by doing whatever lawns you have to do, and then you can just keep the money for it. And he was like, man, that would be really nice. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm not planning on sticking around, but like to help you out for one day and finish off those things for you at least, just so that you can get a little bit of a break and then keep the money for it. I'd be happy to do that, in exchange for the room for the night or whatever. So that was the plan, and that's what happened. And he ended up giving me some of the cash. He gave me $30, and I was like, you don't gotta do that. And he was like, no, it's important to me. Like, you really did help me out. And I was like, yeah, but that was the whole deal that we made. And he was like, no, you need it. So that was really nice. And then he brought me back to as far south as I could go, after we had got done mowing the lawns. And then so I got to the truck stop, and his truck broke down, like close to the truck stop. And I was like, oh my goodness gracious, like, you're helping me out and now your truck just broke down. And he's like, no, it's all right. And I'm like trying to help him, and we're putting in fucking coolant and check the oil, check the trans fluid, try to find where the leak is, found where the leak was, try to figure out what to do about it. And then he decided just to call AAA. So we hung out until AAA got there and then said our goodbyes. And I stayed at the truck stop. And I sat and chilled for a while, and I did some writing. Was hanging out, at the McDonald's or whatever for the Wi-Fi. And when I started to head out, I threw my bag on. And when I started to head out, I saw this girl who was like, just this beautiful, like, hippie-looking chick. She had like a gardening style hat on and a cute little tank top and a real pretty skirt and sandals, and she just looked very earthy, and she had like this glow about her. She seemed very nice. And I don't know, as I was walking, like, I happened to walk right past her, and she like smiled at me and I smiled at her, and she was like, I was like, hey, where are you headed? Because I saw that her and this other guy that she was with, that they had a truck that had a camper attached to it, and they had like the kids in the car and stuff like that. So I was like, where is it that you guys are headed? And she was like, well, he's actually going to be headed up to Minnesota for a circus, boat, floating circus. She was like, and then he'll come back down this way, but I am just going to be staying at this property. And she's like, actually, if you want, you should totally come to this property. And she was like, I mean, if you want to, if you need somewhere to stay for the night and just kind of rest, or if you want to just hang out, she was like, there's a lot of or not a lot, but she was like, there's some beautiful women there that just have the best energy, and I bet you'd fit right in, and like it'd be such a nice time. She like immediately was so friendly with me, and so I was like, yeah, hell yeah, that sounds really nice. So they took me back to the property with them, and it was actually like a little microgreen farm. They were really cool. We were just talking about a lot of stuff, and they took me back to this microgreen farm where there was another mom and her daughters, and another girl and her dog, and there was 2 other dogs. And then the farm, like the property itself is like really large, and they all stayed out like camping out in this one area. Oh, and there was another guy there too. And that was it. And they all kind of camped out in this one area, and then the farmer stayed up at his house, which was like a ways up, but that's where the gardens were. And so part of the trade-off for like staying there long term was to do some of the gardening, or to help around the house with different stuff, to do anything that like benefits the property essentially, and benefits the business and stuff. So that was really cool. That was a really nice time. I'm still processing from that, because this girl and I just like, I've never experienced anything like it, to be honest. she just like kind of essentially mirrored me in so many ways that like just the entire interaction with her was such a deep self-reflection and like so beautiful. There was so much release. Like she's so powerful and she's so like there's so much to admire about her and she's so much more advanced than I am. And it was like, yeah, it was such a cool thing because she's younger than I am, 10 years younger than I am even. And so there's just so much reflection of like where she is and where she's been and where I am and like where I've been and where we're both going. And like, I don't know, it was just really, really incredible. And she ended up taking me to her hometown for the night to kind of just like hang out on the square. And I went to a club and, which I'd never been to, and that was fun. I got to just like dance and it felt really nice. I didn't even like dance necessarily with anybody, you know, it was like super chill. It was really nice to be able to kind of like move my body like that, which I haven't done before. And like, I felt silly, but I felt good and like just try to like put it out like of my head to be insecure and, just felt really great about it. And I don't know, the whole night was incredible. There was like a part where like, we had kind of gone, she and I had kind of like, were doing our own things because I was giving her own space. You know, it's her hometown and she had, you know, people there that she wanted to have personal time with. And I don't know, I just saw so many incredible things and like was sitting on this little part of the square and two dudes came up and at first they were kind of like flirting with me and like being, you know, away. But when I started talking like seriously, like when I told like I like kind of sat up straight a little more and was like talked like an intelligent person, all of a sudden the vibe totally changed. And the one dude who was like sitting next to me and like getting all close to me or whatever fell asleep, and the other dude who was kind of keeping a distance all of a sudden turned into this absolute just fucking like missionary, which was incredible. And I've seen it now multiple times that I've been out here. Literally, like, it's so incredible because like I don't know, there's all these different people that I've interacted with that feel like family, and they've even told me like, you activated me and I'm so thankful for it, like you like brought this back out on me and it's been so long. And like I've heard those things in my past, but not like this, and I've not seen these things with my eyes this way and like experience things just on this level. It's really, really crazy. It's crazy. I've been through this has been such a wild experience. Man, it's been wild. So after I ended up staying at the farm for like a week. The day that after we had stayed up at our hometown when we were coming back, like was such a release. I was like, we're singing at the top of our lungs and I was like crying and like doing these visual healing sessions for myself and like, which is just like came naturally. Like, and I've done it in the past, but like, and like by myself, I've never done it with like another person around. And like, she was like in her own state of vulnerability and healing. And it was just really, really incredible. Like, I don't know. It really was a pivotal point in my experience, because then at that point, like I'd kind of just stopped there. And she asked me the day that I was planning on leaving, like if I wanted to hang out and go up there with her because she wanted somebody to go with. And like, I was like, is that it? Okay, it's still going. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a great plan. Only because like it just felt like, well, one, it felt like I was the right person to go with her for her. And that's kind of always been my thing, right? Is to like, I'm like empathetic. So I like read, you know, people and can see what it is that they're like looking for and hear it when people communicate things. I don't just put it behind me, but like, you know, that's what I always did. And I always looked at it like I was doing something positive that way. And this was such an interesting experience because we openly communicated how like there was an uncertainty as to what was positive and what was truly toxic, and if there was a positivity in some of the toxicness, and you know, if the concepts of perfect are really, you know, the best things to strive for, and like, not even that, like, not in that exact terms, but like there was so much. There's so much about it that really started like cultivating these different concepts in myself, and like the point when I did my visual healing, like it was really crazy because we were just listening to these different songs and I didn't know them, but they were resonating so deeply with me. I knew some of them, but not all of them. And at one point in time, like, as you know, as I'm sitting driving, you know, we're just driving down in her van. It's all decked out, you know, because she's been living in it since she got it, but she's been on the road since she was fucking like 17. And got the windows down. She hand rolls cigarettes and would give me one, you know, on occasion, which like I don't usually smoke that much, but I've been smoking on this journey. Almost as like it's like a social point of connection, kind of, you know, it's like a peace offering sort of deal. I generally like haven't smoked pot with people up until I got to Austin, but like even at the farm I smoked, but by myself, really. The farmer had smoked with me, but he'll take a hit and that's all he needs for the entire day, which is wonderful, and so wonderful. I love that. I love when people have a low tolerance, because the sensitivity just like, it hits differently, but at the same time, like, I appreciate that that I went through the experiences that I went through that built up the tolerance that I have for pot, because when I smoke it, I don't feel overwhelmed with it or overcome by it in the same sorts of ways that I think most people tend to. It like triggers a lot of people's anxiety, where it can for me, but it also makes me so hyper aware that, like, I don't know, I've learned so much by being able to slow down my processing through that practice, and I'm thankful for it, for using it that way. But I've also learned, you know, my capacity for habits and negative habits, and for abusive tendencies in that way through it. So, you know, there's a lot to be thankful for in that way about it. But aside from that, like, it's been wild because, like, I've been offered heroin and meth and crack multiple times at this point. You know, I've stayed with people who were using drugs, and like, I've already been that way in my adult life, which is funny because that's how I've learned so much. Like, I haven't had to do them because I've literally lived with people and been very close with them and not judged them. So I've been able to just like experience those things. You know, when I was staying in Austin prior, I did end up judging the girl that I was staying with based on who I knew her to be in the past, and I didn't remember that until I was living with her. And then I don't know, I just started to get like, I like kind of nervous and felt like there was a whole bunch of manipulation going on, and it's just I don't know, it ended up getting to the point where like we were just in total disagreement about things because I was isolating, and she felt, you know, like it was putting a real negative, like I was being a Debbie Downer. And, you know, it's for all intents and purposes, I was, because I wasn't, you know, partying and doing the stuff that they were doing. But that's just because I tried to. When I first moved in, I was doing it, but it's just not my lifestyle. It's not something I, like, enjoy like that, to be honest. And I didn't convey those things properly at the time because it was really my first time kind of being in that type of experience. The last time I lived with somebody that was that into drug use, they handled their shit totally differently. They were incredibly responsible, and I could trust everybody that they brought around in a different way. I trusted everybody that was around, but it was just different. It's just different. There's just not so much mistrust in different situations, and so, you know, that's on me too. I'm not trying to blame that person. There's so much of it that was me. not having done, I had to go through this entire process, you know, just to come to myself. Like anything, even right now as I'm still actively processing, like isn't a proper reflection of who I truly am or what I truly want out of life. And like, so yeah, I mean, everything, like I set out with these set intentions, but they were truly like, you know, like intellect trying to make up for just what I didn't know yet, what I didn't know how to express otherwise. So it's kind of like almost a deflection, not intentionally. I have all these goals, you know, for career and for community. But man, through this entire journey, I've just learned so much about like my capacity to kind of meddle in things, even well-intendedly, and it's not something I really want to continue to carry with me. And now it's been revealed to me so much of like the depth of those things and like just a way that like I'm really, I'm just going through a fundamentally transformative period right now, and it's crazy just because like I'm in Austin now. I finally got to Austin, you know, and I'm just like chilling at the Walmart right now for Wi-Fi, and it's finally cooled off because it's dark outside, so it's really nice out. It is hot as balls here, but it's all right. I stayed at a friend's house last night, and my friend, I literally am just in love with this dude, but I'm just learning so much about myself, and I'm so thankful for him and for all the things that he showed me, and like was able to communicate to me and stuff, because like he doesn't even recognize how powerful those things are. He does, he knows it, but at the same time, like he really doesn't, and that's fine. It's just like I'm so thankful for these experiences and for everything I'm fucking learning, and it's crazy because all of a sudden like I'm starting to feel ways I never felt before. Like I'm realizing, you know, how much of like everything that I've done thus far has been like I wasn't running from anything this time. I thought I was running to something, but I didn't fully know what that was because I had a lot of different ideas about it. And now I have just like this different awareness. It's not even different ideas. I have like this different awareness. I don't have any ideas, you know, so I'm just in a weird processing time right now about these things. But I'm thankful for it. I was told that this is supposed to be my time to enjoy things before I continue on my way. So like, I'm gonna try to make the most. But I'm in a weird place emotionally right now. I'll tell you what. Like yesterday, I was so emotional and very sad, but like in a happy way. Very grateful, but like so sad. And even this morning, but like, I don't know. I'm just going through a whole cleansing period, and it's kind of fucking crazy. I can't, when I stopped trying to dictate what this was or what it was supposed to be, you know, I took that little break when I was in Missouri, and it just revealed to me so many different aspects of like who I really am and what I'm really doing, and how like so much of that was kind of just like a deflection, you know. Not that it isn't true, and not that I'm not still passionate about things, but like I'm just in a different state of reflection right now where like I'm realizing that so much of my passion like was misplaced, and like people admire it, which makes it feel like I'm doing the right thing, because people are like, wow, it's so nice to see somebody so passionate. But like people don't know my heart or know like what it is that I'm actually supposed to be doing, and like I didn't either necessarily. I was just trying to be passionate about what I perceive to be the best things. But like as I've learned better, and you know, it's really started to just, like I said, transform different things for me fundamentally, you know, and like in ways that it's such a deeper level than it ever has been. Things are cultivating, and I see my destiny now, and I get it, and I'm excited for it. It's just so much different than what I had set out for this to be. So it's almost like I'm kind of in this weird point right now of like embarrassment, kind of, just because of how passionate I've been about things, when like I want to convey those passions because I want other people to be passionate about those things too. I've been truly passionate about these things, but like I'm realizing now that like it just isn't the best things to be passionate about. Like so much of this community service is like ultimately people are, every single person is their own God, and it's up to them to choose, you know, what they believe, and that will dictate, you know, who they are until they choose otherwise. And you know, it's not for me to make those decisions for people. And I've struggled so much with this feeling of like I'm supposed to help people, and I'm supposed to save people, and I'm supposed to be there to be able to do the work for people just so that they can get those legs up, or people that can't do the work so that they can like benefit from that. And like in my caregiving and stuff, like there was